Have you ever had a customer who seemed completely fine during the whole interaction, polite, thankful, even friendly, and then simply vanished? No complaint, no explanation, no review, just silence. If you work with Japanese customers, students, or clients in any kind of service role, this has probably happened to you more than once. And if you assumed that silence meant satisfaction, there is a strong chance you are reading the situation completely wrong. Japan has one of the most misunderstood review cultures in the world. It is a country famous for high standards, precise products, and exceptional service expectations. So, logically, you would expect Japanese people to be the most detailed and vocal reviewers on any platform. But the reality is almost the complete opposite. Most Japanese customers say nothing publicly, even when they have a strong opinion. And once you understand why, it changes how you see customer service, online work, and cross-cultural communication entirely. At the core of Japanese social behavior is a deeply held value around avoiding actions that inconvenience or cause discomfort to others. This value is so embedded in daily Japanese life that it shapes how people speak, how they act in public spaces, and how they behave online. The basic idea is this: before you do or say anything publicly, you are expected to think about how that action might affect the people around you. Will it embarrass someone? Will it create conflict? Will it disrupt the peace of the group? If the answer is yes, the culturally preferred response is restraint. Hold back. Stay quiet. This applies not just to physical spaces like trains or restaurants, but to digital spaces as well. Posting a negative review about a real person or business is a public action that can cause damage, create conflict, and disrupt relationships. For many Japanese people, especially older generations, doing that publicly feels genuinely wrong, not because they lack opinions, but because broadcasting those opinions feels like it crosses an important social line. This connects directly to how Japanese culture has historically treated group harmony. For centuries, Japanese society has placed enormous value on the smooth functioning of the group over the preferences of any single individual. This does not mean Japanese people are without personal opinions. Of course they have them. But the social training most Japanese people receive from childhood emphasizes reading the room, adjusting behavior to keep the peace, and avoiding actions that draw unnecessary attention or stir up conflict. Publicly criticizing a service, naming a business as inadequate, or leaving a permanent written complaint that strangers can read falls into the category of actions that disturb harmony. For many Japanese people, that discomfort is strong enough to stop them from posting anything at all, even when they are genuinely dissatisfied. Here is what makes this especially important for anyone in a service profession. When a Japanese customer is unhappy and chooses not to say anything publicly, the most common outcome is not that they forgive and move on. The most common outcome is that they quietly disappear. They stop coming back. They stop booking. They stop purchasing. They might share their experience privately with a close friend or family member, because private feedback within a trusted circle is far more socially acceptable than public criticism, but they will not go online and write about it. From the outside, this looks like contentment, but it is actually a decision to exit silently rather than engage publicly. For service providers and businesses who depend on repeat customers, this pattern is genuinely risky. The absence of complaints does not mean the absence of problems. Your unhappy customers may already be gone. They just did not tell you why. This is also why a public written complaint from a Japanese customer carries unusual weight. In a culture where public criticism is strongly discouraged, the act of typing out a complaint and publishing it for others to see means the frustration has crossed a very high threshold. It takes a significant level of dissatisfaction to override that cultural resistance. A single written complaint from a Japanese customer is rarely the same as a complaint from someone in a culture where online reviews are casual and frequent. By the time a Japanese person has decided to write one, they have usually already quietly stopped using the service. The review is a final statement, not an opening for dialogue. It is also worth understanding that even when Japanese people do leave negative feedback, they rarely express it in a direct or emotionally charged way. The same cultural training that discourages public complaints also shapes the language used when someone finally does speak up. Japanese communication style, in everyday conversation and in writing, tends to favor indirectness and understatement, even when expressing real dissatisfaction. A reviewer who is deeply unhappy might write something that reads as fairly mild to a foreign audience. They might focus on a small technical detail rather than the actual source of frustration. They might describe an experience as slightly disappointing when what they actually mean is that they will never return and have already warned everyone they know. Reading Japanese feedback at face value without understanding this communication style is a reliable way to miss what is actually being said. The difference between private and public complaints is also significant. In Japanese professional culture, it is generally acceptable, sometimes even expected, to raise concerns privately through direct channels. A customer might contact a business directly. A student might send a private message instead of leaving a public review. This private feedback is taken seriously and is often the only honest version of the customer's experience that a service provider will ever receive. Public complaints are a different category entirely. They involve broadcasting a negative opinion to strangers, which feels disproportionate to most Japanese people unless the situation is genuinely serious. For anyone working with Japanese clients, students, or customers, the practical takeaways from all of this are straightforward. First, silence is not automatically approval. If a Japanese customer has stopped responding or stopped booking without explanation, pay attention to that pattern. Second, when a Japanese customer does offer private feedback, even something that sounds casual or minor, take it seriously. In a culture where public criticism is avoided, private comments carry real meaning. Third, if you receive a public written complaint from a Japanese customer, recognize that something significant enough happened to push that person past their own cultural limits. Fourth, do not expect the same volume or tone of reviews from a Japanese audience that you would get from a Western one. Fewer people will rate. Fewer will comment. Those who do rate 5 stars may genuinely love your work, or may simply feel that anything lower would be impolite. Context always matters. Japan's review silence is not empty. It is full of information. You just need to know how to read it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for Japanese and Korean language learning content, fun ESL class stories, sometimes even the toxic ones, plus videos about pets, plants, and anything interesting I discover in my daily life.